your comments on the meditation? Is it shorter better, longer better, or schedule every day, or just spontaneous every day? Your comment on that.
Mm. I think it's very helpful if you have a regularity of a basic program, and that you have to decide for yourself whether short or long is good. It's better that you do less and you go about it day after day after day. Then for some time you do more and then you throw it away again for some time. It's like when you regularly have that time, it's like you're creating a basic current. I like to connect it, to compare it with the classical Indian music. There, in the classical South Indian music, there is the shruti, that basic note. Either it's played with a shruti box, or it's played with the tampura, a stringed instrument that you're not playing with the second hand, but it just goes on throughout the piece. And then on that shruti, the melody, the music is building up and playing its story. It's not story. It's art. And it's like when you're regularly practicing every day, then you're creating like a shruti in your life. That there is a current there. If you have that, it's much easier when you remember to just connect and relax, and you're right there again. And if you don't practice for longer periods, then that shruti has the tendency to get buried again. Deep down it's still there, but it's more difficult to access. But then you cannot give out rules because people are different. And what is natural for one is not natural for another. And if somebody likes to meditate a lot, then that's certainly, let them meditate a lot. But if that doesn't come natural, and if you really have to force yourself day after day, then I wouldn't recommend that. Then you better have a short period where you're going about it and just intend to be as meditative as you can in your activities. And then still, sometimes the circumstances may be that you can expand, and your desire is so that you expand, and sometimes the circumstances are that you have not much time and you reduce, but try not to completely drop it out of your life. And then it's also nothing wrong in between to have again, to do some periods where you are more intense, maybe doing retreat or do this kind of intense period, and then charge your batteries again and go back in your usual daily life, and then come back to your program. I mean, if for a day or two, out of necessity, you are not finding any time, there's not that you have to have a bad conscience about it. There's no harm in that, but try to not, basically not miss it. Even if each session you don't think that you are going very far, it's still doing something. And if that regularity is there, that shruti is getting stronger and stronger. And it's getting easier and easier to remember, to connect, and when you remember, to really simply connect and relax. People may also start out with very little, a few minutes, and then start to get the taste of it, and gradually add a little bit. But you can learn to listen to your heart, that you feel directed from there, and then you start to feel what is natural, whether you should push yourself a bit more or rather be relaxed about it. And somehow everybody has to find for themselves a bit that balance between self-discipline that is very helpful, or then when you start to unnecessarily torture yourself. A little bit of discipline is no harm. It helps everybody, but at the same time you can also you need not somehow to start to push yourself in a torturous way, because otherwise after some time you are so pissed off that you'll simply throw it all away. Listen to your heart. There you have the real guidance. Yes?
I was wondering, if I do a meditation, is it good to go in the quietness or do a special programs like going through the chakras or whatever?
That you have to know for yourself.
Yeah.
If you just can sit quietly, be consciously conscious, not do anything, that is fine. If that doesn't work so well and you feel like using a technique, then use a technique. The techniques, they are not in themselves important. It doesn't matter really. Usually people who are practicing one technique, they think theirs is the best, the highest, the straightest. It's the usual human nonsense. The techniques, they are just crutches for the mind. The essence of any practice is that you somehow get a help to simply be in that natural ease and peace. The techniques, they are crutches, because when we are all agitated, it's not so easy to abstractly simply let that go. It's much easier if you can redirect the attention to something to hold on to. And if you have a practice, then you can redirect the attention to that, and it's like what you're looking for is right behind it. So you cannot say it's better or it's not, it's worse, one or the other. My experience is that the simpler the practices, the more powerful they are. Simply the difficulty with the simplicity, with the simple practices, is that the mind cannot so easily accept that they are valid for something. That we do it for some time and no big explosions are happening, and we think, of course, I mean, silly, simple thing like this is not going to do it. And then we have the tendency to throw it. But if you can pick up a very simple help and just go on and on with that, then this is very powerful. But I mean, you may pick up a whole program and do a meditation that is doing all kinds of things and going to the chakras and going up and down and visualizing stuff. If you want to do that, if you feel like doing that, then by all means do that. But remember, it's not the technique that is important. It's not that you should become an adept in your technique and get better and better and better. That is not the point. Incidentally, if you use it again, that may happen. But the technique is a crutch for the mind to help you to bring the attention to the timelessness of the now and learn to relax in it. So if you do a whole program of meditation exercises, then learn to remember that while doing it, what matters is that you learn to relax in that beingness and not get simply totally absorbed in the exercises that you are doing.
So So with meditation, where is inquiry in all this? Is that also kind of like a technique that would guide us eventually to the stillness?
Many
of
people
mind?
they make that distinction, meditation versus inquiry.
Mm.
I don't think there is really such a distinction. When you meditate with inquiry, then that's your meditation. I'm calling meditation everything that brings your attention back, and then you can meditate while being active. It helps if you have every day your time where you are not busy and can put your undivided attention to that. But then do that which is the most natural. And if self-inquiry is coming naturally to you, then that's your meditation. And don't think maybe meditation would be better.
I guess the question arises because it has been quite busy in there with doing inquiry. So
I mean, you are not condemned to do only one simple thing. It's better that you're not one day doing one thing, then another day doing another thing, and then always changing. But you can also create your program where you get an inspiration from somewhere. You maybe include an aspect into your practice, and you may have a program that first you do one thing and then you rather after that shift into another thing. It's perfectly valid. In a way, finally, everybody is carving their own yoga, their own approach. We can draw inspiration from then the paths that are already there and experimented with, and many have maybe gone on that path with success. Then we can draw inspiration and help from that. But finally, you are doing your own unique thing. So don't create contradictions where there are none.
yes.
Although many people do talk like this. There is inquiry and there is meditation, and they talk about the differences between the two, and the essence is still the same. Inquiry is not, self-inquiry is not a question that you ask and ask and ask, and eventually you get it. Eventually it makes click, and then you understand, and now I know who I am. There's no such thing like knowing who you are. You are who you are. You are what you are. You cannot know it like you know something. As soon as you know yourself like you know something, then you create again a concept, and you are there, and that concept of that is there. Even if it's a lofty, beautiful, expansive concept, it's still a concept. It's not that you ask the question, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Who the hell am I? And then finally you get it. It's just one way that you are catching your attention where it's busy with, and bring it back to that sense of presence. And you can do it with that question, with inquiry. You can do it very easily in any other way. You can just learn to consciously breathe in, breathe out, and relax. And you are right in the same place you are when you are doing self-inquiry. Or you can combine the two. Breathing, consciously breathing, and inquire, but inquire not with curiosity that I want to figure it out. It's not that eventually you figure it out. As long as you think that you understood, then you are sure to be wrong. You cannot understand reality. You cannot understand what you are. And no scriptures tells the truth And no guru tells the truth. All the scriptures can do, all the teaching can do, is give a pointer to something that can simply not be put in words, that simply cannot be grasped with the mind. It's prior to the mind. The mind has its own value. You can understand a lot of useful things on the way if you start to have a good look at yourself and see how your mind is functioning. If you understand the mechanism of your mind, if you understand how we have the tendency to repeat the same stuff over and over and over and invoke the same trouble again and again, that understanding is very helpful. That understanding helps us to detach from it and also understand that you can turn your attention back to the source. That understanding is very helpful. But if you try to understand what is reality, what you are, then that's a futile undertaking. It's not possible. And nobody has ever expressed in words what it is. There are all these words that are being used to be an indicator, but no teaching is really a definition of reality. However lofty, however beautiful, Advaita Vedanta is not a definition of reality. It's a very good pointer that can grab your attention and points in the right direction, and then finally all you can do is shut up. If we would understand that, all these religious fights would not be there. My religion is better than your religion. My spiritual path is better than you. I came from the Vedanta side, and I knew everything. What is the highest truth and all the other truths below. It was all intellectual arrogance. There comes the point where you have to throw away all that crap and accept I have a damn clue what's going on really. It's not that they are useless. They give inspiration, they give good pointers, they can put the attention in the right direction. If you read Ramana's teachings, if you read Ramana's conversations, don't read it with the idea of understanding, and then if you have repeated the same type of sentence enough that you think, now I got it, now I understood. Then we can start to fight with each other. Who has understood better? And the Ramana says like this, but no, the Buddha says like that, and then we fight with each other. No, try to open your heart to the space where the words are coming from, and then the teaching is a bridge, can help. Then it's inspiring, but not that we come to the point that now I really know it, now I can repeat it perfectly, but just open the heart to where these words are coming from, and then the words from a teacher like Ramana can be tremendously inspiring, but still it just helps us to get the pointer to come back home to ourselves, not to find the reality spelled out somewhere out there.